And good afternoon, good evening, everyone. How's everyone doing? Happy Thursday. So you're back for more. Well, welcome. If you are new, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. We do this every Thursday, just kind of turn the cameras on, and whatever I'm working on in the studio is what we do. So that's what we got. So there's no show and tell today. We're just going to kind of get right into it, which will be fun. We're painting, working on the gas station painting that has kind of dominated my bench for the last couple of weeks. We're going to get the owner of the gas station in tonight, which will be good. Starting to kind of mess around with the details with this. I've got mostly the whole painting blocked in. So before we switch the camera over, I just want to say thank you to everyone who has reached out. I know this is kind of the UK over the pond live feed, but there was for those who I don't know how far the news went, but there was a pretty big train derailment here in Ohio, and it was only about 20 miles from us. So we're fine. It's quite the mess. It's going to take a long time for it to get cleaned up fully, but we are fine. So thank you for everyone who reached out. And yeah, all right. So let's switch things around. Let's do it. All right, hold on. Let's get the wild view today. James, what is up? Good morning, James. Teresa, what's happening? I think I have I changed things around today. Actually, I'll pull this out here for now so you can kind of see what I've done since we've all been here. I did change things around today. Actually, I'll swap to that one for a second. So the reference, this is as I knock everything around, this is the corner of the Visionaire. This is the airbrush station from Visionaire, which is from Del Stanton and Flake King, which is a fabulous UK company. So what I do is I have this is kind of the setup that I use for all the live feeds, and I've been painting here a lot actually since I really got it set up. I've been doing all my painting here instead of at the regular bench. But there is a reference. There was a reference holder. Actually, I'll show you. Hold on. Actually, I can show you with this one. 1 second. Swap that camera around real quick. So this is the other side. This is the little reference holder. And what you can do is there's a little clip at the top. You can put a a sheet of paper or a notebook, or it has a holder. I use my my iPad for it, or my tablet for it. So this was on the other side originally. It was over this side, and it was kind of hovering over the palette. So I moved all that and changed a few things around so that when we get going with the palette cam, which I will turn on in a second. There we go. So now when we do this and we do this, not that, that's me. That's not what I want though. I want this one. I know, high tech. Give it a second. There we go. So now that we get, you guys get a full view of the palette, where last week the whole top side of this was cut off. So now you guys get a full view of that. So it'll be good as I kind of get things going and whatever, because we'll be doing a lot of hand painting today with Master Pete, the owner of this gas station. So let me turn this a little bit more so that I can get you guys in full view of this. Is that going to work? That is as far as it goes. That's interesting. It's a bigger painting. This is 11 by 14. So, and hello to Franz. Chris Garcia, what's up? Yeah, we're fine. I mean, it's going to be one of those things that we won't see the real results of it for a while. I mean, there's a bunch of nasty chemicals that ended up everywhere, and they had to actually do like a controlled burn on them, on some of the cars, because there's no way to clean it up and there's no way to really stop it. So instead of having an explosion or several explosions happen, they actually burned a lot of the chemicals right there. So it's a mess, and we're keeping an eye on everything here, so hopefully it's not going to be too crazy. So this is the gas station painting so far. So when I was with you guys last time, we were doing the telephone booth and some other stuff in the back. So I've kind of covered a lot of ground since then. In fact I've covered the ground, so I've got almost the driveway and all that pretty much done. There's some more details that need to be put in, but those will be done later on. Once I get everything else really close, I'll do like final adjustments on the asphalt to kind of bring it to where it should be. Originally, it was just gray with a little bit of texture and the oil stains and that kind of thing. When I got the building in, I realized I needed to add more blue to the ground, and I did that. So that's kind of what I mean. I'll just keep, as each different section gets put in, I'll add more to the asphalt here. There is a very cool, actually I can show you. I've been going back and forth with the guy with the guy who commissioned this painting. He has been amazing as always. I've done some work for him before. I consider him a really good friend, and actually he's a friend before I started working for him or with him. So this was the gas station he worked at as a kid, and so it's great to have, like, even though the only thing I had, or I had different random photos. It's been really nice to be able to say, hey, what was this like, or what was that like? One of the things was the light. That was a big thing that we were able to figure out, because I didn't have any photos of the light or anything, so I didn't know what to do with it. So it's been great bouncing things back and forth. So this area kind of bothered me. And in almost all the photos I have of the gas station, which is only 3 or 4, there's always a car or several cars parked on this side right here. So I had mentioned it to him this week, and I said, hey, is there a car that you want me to put in here? So his dad's first car, his dad's first new car was a 59 Edsel. So so I grabbed an Edsel, and what I do to get this done, like, this will be a regular, like, I'll treat this like a regular painting. I've made a bunch of photocopies of it. If you notice, it's really light, but that's actually the painting. And what I did was I have the painting that at this point, or a couple steps before this, took a really nice photograph of it and then brought it into Photoshop and scaled it down. So now when I add stuff to it, I'm adding it to the actual scale of the painting. So I was able to change the perspective on the front of this car and do all kinds of stuff. But that's going to sit right about there, which will be fun. It'll be parked off to the side, and it'll solve this window for me. I was having a tough time with the window because in the photos that I have, let's see if I can find it. Yeah, this one. So I have this photo during the winter, and there's clearly a big sign in that window, and I can't read what it says. So I would have to make that up. And now that I'm going to have the car there, I can do a few other things right there to kind of make it so I don't have to do that. The same thing with this. I don't know what I'm going to do with this window right here. There's all kinds of stuff. There's stuff in the window. There are signs. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that yet, but I'll probably go and look up old 60s Sunoco stations and see what kind of signs they had in the window, and just kind of drop them in. So that's kind of get you guys caught up on what's going on. Again, everything is really kind of blocked in right now. There'll be a bunch of other stuff to do on the blue part. I have to put all the lettering in. I started working on all the details on here. The little, you'll see it as we get closer. So that kind of gets you caught up. But today we're going to paint Pete, and that's Pete right there. So, all right. So for Pete, what I've done, let me find it here. So the same thing happened with Pete. Like I brought this photo. I took this photo and then cropped out Pete, and then what I did was I scaled him down so that I got him to the size he needed to be, and I have him outlined right there. He's going to be standing in the doorway here, so I'm going to use the same picture of Pete, but I'm just going to move him back over to here. So that's what I did here. So I made a bunch of copies like I normally do, and we are just going to get to it. So enough talky. What else we got? Cody Adams, hello. Ian, what's happening? Ian, I love the mural. Dan, what's going on, man? Gary Shees, what's happening? Awesome. I think we got everyone. Yeah, Ian, the fact that you just typed that you were late because you're airbrushing makes me very, very happy. All right, I should switch this. Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna switch you guys to this camera for a second, because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have some fun. I'm gonna replace the lens with the macro lens. That way, since everything we're doing today is gonna be really, pretty much up close. We'll switch to the big boy lens, and then that'll give you guys a better shot at it. All right. There we go. Give that a second to fire up. So is everyone having a good week? It is. I can't believe it's Thursday already. Weeks are flying by. Oh, and yeah, I had said last week that I would cheers with you guys and girls. So I'm keeping my promise. I did all my running around already, so I'm in for the day. So today's cheers with you guys is that's not gonna work. Yeah, that's gonna be close. I'll focus that in a second here. Do I have it on manual? I do have it on manual. How wonderful. All right. Yeah, we're going to be able to get really close. So, too close. So today is Mastheads Brewing Company. They're right in Cleveland. I've really grown to like this brewery a lot. They've got a lot of really, really neat stuff. So this is their Hazy Headlines IPA, which is a good one. So, all right. Yeah, we're right into there now. This is good. I love this lens. I love, love, love this lens. This was the lens from my other camera, and I ended up getting the adapter for the for this camera so that I could use it with this setup, which is great. And I'll try to keep track of comments. I'll do my best. On my last night shift for the week, 10 hours to go. Oh, Franz, it's awesome. Weekend's coming, buddy. I wonder if there's messages or a name the customer might like to replace in the text and the signage you can't read. Yeah, Simon, it's very possible. We've been going back and forth. Drop a 543 in the car window spot. Yeah, no kidding. Tony, the guy who owns this, is a great guy. I try not to hide too much stuff in his paintings because he is a good guy. So yeah. And I've already, oh, you know what I'll do? I'll switch back to this because I got to show you this too. So I've got another really, really big fat commission coming up, and I just got the board for, which I'm super excited. So I'm going to switch back to this camera because it's big. So this is 16 by 20. So this will be the next big panel. This is a clay board panel from Ampersand, which is what I use all the time. But the really nice thing is this one has the relief on it. So it's got the wood's basically the wood frame on it. So on bigger panels, I mean, I could do 16 by 20. Just a regular Ampersand panel would be perfect, but this one it's really nice and sturdy with that wood, and you can frame it you can hang it without a frame. It's really clean, so I'm really looking forward to this. I haven't talked to the gentleman who commissioned this one yet to see if I can do this one live, but I'm sure he'll say yes. He's also a great guy. All right, what else we got? I know, that's true, Gary. I do have the best customers and followers. You guys are awesome. All right. And just, yeah, okay, good. That's weird. On my, on the YouTube side of it, it looks like it's frozen, but on my tablet it is not. So, and obviously it's not if you guys are commenting. So you guys are right in there. Let me make sure this is totally focused. I noticed that on Open Studio, that the focus wasn't that great, and I'm going to fix that too. It's definitely part of the learning curve here for me, getting all this stuff down. So Pete is really small. He's just about an inch tall, a little bit. There's my thumb. So he's really small. And what I've decided too, and you guys can't really see it now because I've got the macro lens in, but if you, well, can I do that? Yeah, I can, I guess. I can jump back to this one. So there's a lot of blue going on here. There's the oil rack, the two gas pumps, and then obviously the big Sunoco building. So there's a lot of like blue kind of tracking across the middle of this painting. So Pete's going to be real small in here, and he's not really going to pop out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually paint Pete with dark blue pants and a light blue shirt. I don't know what color his clothes really were, but by making him like a blue, that'll help him kind of tie into this train of blue that goes across the painting, and that way you'll kind of catch him. If I just do him in like tan and brown, you won't see him. He'll just kind of blend into the opening, and I kind of want him to pop a little bit, or at least pull a little bit forward. So so that's kind of the rundown on how Pete's going to work. And here's Pete. I think he's smiling. I can't tell. Something tells me that's how Pete was all the time. I didn't know him, and I hadn't heard any stories from Tony about him, but he seems like, you know, one picture says 1,000 words. So I have a feeling I know who Pete is. Let's turn that back on because we'll need that in a minute. All right, so what I've done is I made these copies. I'm going to cut up a bunch of these and we'll just start laying peat in. And I'll try to keep an eye on the comments. It's a little bit goofy, so just where things are. I believe it tried Hazy Headlands while hanging at Headlands Beach. It was a great beer. Yeah, I'm a big fan of hazy beers, especially hazy IPAs. They're really nice. They remind me of springtime. Do you sand the boards before paint? Hey, Tim, what's happening? Cody, yeah, I do a lot to them. So with that board, what I'm going to do is I'm going to spray that with base coat sealer white. Actually, I might use blue for that because there's the jet. It's a jet painting, so it's going to be on like a sky blue background. Well, sky. So I may do that in a light blue, which is just still base coat sealer, but I'll add some base coat sealer blue to it. So blue and white, and that'll give me that sky color. And then that kind of kills two birds with one stone. And then as I work with it, so I'll spray it 2 or 3 times, and then let it completely dry, then sand it, then spray it a couple more times and sand it again. So by the end of it, I'm sanding it with about 1,000 grit paper, and that's going to be smooth just like this. It's kind of what I did with this one, but just white. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, so good old Pete. So the way I'm going to lay Pete out is I'm going to kind of block him in. So again, I'm going to have, yeah, I'll do his pants like a deep blue. So they'll kind of, almost like a brand new jeans color. I think I'm going to do that. And then his shirt will be a light blue, and he's got the little white t-shirt on, and then his skin tone. So I'm going to break it down into those essentially 3 colors: the dark blue, excuse me, dark blue, light blue, and then the skin tone. So we'll block him in first, and then I'll put the details in, and he'll be ready to rock. So for that, I need to cut some stuff out. All right, so I'm going to just drop this here for now and try to work where you guys can see it. And I want to make sure that, yeah, that's tight. All right, so I think, let's see. Do I have to put white in here first? Probably. So I think I might base him in completely first, or could do that. All right. Thinking out loud. So so I got to get the edge of him kind of defined. So what I think I'm going to do is his shoes are going to be, I may hand paint his shoes instead of trying to airbrush them, because I think his shoes are going to be black or dark brown or something. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to base in all his clothes with a light blue first. And then I'll add the dark blue for his pants after. That way I can kind of redefine the edge, and I'll show you why. Because I don't really have a defined edge for him right now. I didn't mask him off when I did the doorway of the garage. So so there's a fuzzy edge there. So I instead of trying to fight back with just blue, like a dark blue transparent color, I'll just kind of block it all in with the light blue first. And I'll leave his t-shirt out of it because I can block his skin in with a really light skin tone, and then just hand paint that little wedge of t-shirt. So, Tone, what's up, buddy? What else did I miss? Enzo, what's going on? There we go. Yeah, it's the one thing about switching the reference over. Now it's harder for me to see comments, but I will do my best. So while I'm cutting this out, one of the other things I've decided to do too is take advantage of the shorts feature on YouTube. So so I'll be putting out a short every day of a new painting, and so you can catch those. And then I'll recycle those over on YouTube and Instagram too, and put them up as reels on Instagram too. So if you miss them over here, you can catch them over there. All right, so we'll pull out this part of Pete first. There we go. Pete. So this gas station was built in, where do you get your blades? Tim, I just ordered from Dick Blick. So they're regular X-Acto number 11 blades. Yeah, I just buy them by the box of 100. Although Michaels, yeah, I like it. Well, I love X-Acto blades anyway, but I'm really happy that, you know, I can get those just about anywhere. So I can get those at Michaels or Hobby Lobby or, you know, the X-Acto brand. Obviously, you pay a lot more if you buy them at a place like that, but it still works. All right. So there's Master Pete. So what I'm going to do here is, so you can see how it's like, I've got kind of like an outline here, but it's really not very sharp. I need that to be pretty sharp. So I'm going to just line Pete up here again. Make sure I got this in the right spot. There he is. Pete. All right. And for now, I'm just going to kind of hold this in place with a magnet, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little bit of tape around the outside edge of this just to kind of protect this. I'm not going to mask this whole thing off. I just want to get a little bit of tape on there so I don't have to worry about, you know, any of this light blue going where it shouldn't. Again, you know, the safe way to do this is to get a couple pieces of paper and really mask this off. But between the 3/4 inch tape and what I have around the image, and I'm going to fold this up a little bit too, like this. So I'm going to make a little, like, kind of like a little wall around it. That should really do a good job at keeping, you know, the paint from getting where it shouldn't go. They make regular blades, but you make them look like, I can't see that, sorry. There we go. They make me regular blades, you make them look like magic blades. Thanks, Tim. Yeah, I should, sorry, my fingers are going to be in the way while I do this. Yeah, if there's anything I should have stock in, it's X-Acto, because I use a lot of them. There we go. Again, it's just a little bit of a lift on the corners, on the sides of these, just to kind of keep them in place. And it holds the mask down as well, so that's kind of fun too. There we go. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect, because I'm not going to be hosing this down by any stretch. This is just, as my buddy Chris Arpin says, it's just cheap insurance. And I've said all that about the cheers, and I haven't even opened this, so let me do this now. All right. That's good sound. Cheers over here. Cheers. All right. So for Pete, oh, it's probably here. Pete. No, there isn't. How wonderful. All right. I'm going to just grab a little bit of white. And I just grab a little bit of that Daylight Blue from Createx. So I'm just going to grab some white here. And then grab a paintbrush. This will work. And this is Daylight Blue up here. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of that. Again, this is more like a primer, but it also will be the shirt color too. So there we go. That should be plenty. And again, you guys are great. If you have any questions, just yell them out. Yeah, I gotta see about moving that. Maybe I could do that. Adrian, what's up? York, England, joining it again. Awesome. Quick reminder, please. Are the paints water-based? Adrian, yeah, they're all Createx colors. So I use mostly the Wicked line. Or actually, I should say I use really all the Wicked line. So this is just one of the bottles I grabbed. This is Detail Moss Green. But yeah, I use the Detail line and the regular Wicked line interchangeably. But yeah, it's all water-based. So there you go. Chris Garcia, I would always use the same blade while working on something, but I learned from you that continue changing the blades makes everything so much easier. Yeah, I was the worst for Trevor, that's awesome. Yeah, don't do that at work, Trevor. That's not good. Yeah, Chris, I was the worst at like trying to get the most amount of time out of a blade as I could, and yeah, you pay the price. All right. So the outside, the left-hand side of him over here is against the white building. So that I don't have to really hit very hard. I just have to kind of get the blue in there. It's this side here that I kind of gotta hit. But I also don't want to get this paint. I mean, this isn't stuck down, so I don't want to hit this straight on and then have the blue get underneath this either. So I'm gonna just kind of, you can see how this side pops up when I do that. So what I want to do is I want to kind of hold this down and just hit this right-hand side. And I'm working really, really slow. This might be too blue, but... So just working really light layers. And again, I'm not spraying anywhere where my finger isn't. Like, you know, if I'm doing this down here, I won't do this like a shoulder up here, because that'll give me, you know, that'll give the good chance for that to like pop up like it is. Even it's just popping up right now, even without, you know, any air. So I go about halfway across before I start, you know, thinking about the other side. I also probably should have erased that a little bit too. There's the line for the doorway is still there, but that's, you know, not terrible. There's going to be so much going on with this, with wrinkles and all that stuff. I'm going to be able to cover that up. Okay, so now for the stabbed myself. For the shoulder part, to keep my big fat fingers out of the way, I'm going to use a meat skewer. I use these a lot for this kind of thing. So if I have to hold down a small section, I'll use this. Like if I just had to hold down just his hand, for instance, that's what I use these meat skewers for, to just hold that down. For this, I'm going to use it to hold down his shoulder, just so my fingers aren't in the way of you guys. Yeah, this is a little bit too dark, believe it or not, but it's okay. Because it's blue, I can add white to lighten it up, and you don't have to worry about blue shift because it's blue. So, all right, other side. You see how high that side is? I mean, how much that's popped up here. So even if I'm hitting it with the airbrush, even if I'm coming in at it, you can still see the shadow underneath it. So that anytime the paper stencil is lifted up like that, you know that you can get paint underneath it. So do everything I can to keep that as tight as I can while I'm working. Yeah, you know what? This might not be too dark. I mean, I'll be able to work with this. All right, so there's Master Pete. Well, the start of him anyway. Check on comments. Thanks, I'm working my way through your tutorials for a beginner. I have an Iwata brush and Createx paint. These Thursdays are great. Adrian, that's awesome, man. If you, I'm glad you brought that up. So the Tech Tuesdays are designed for, you know, just about everyone in all kinds of, you know, just kind of share things that I've kind of run across in doing this. What I'm going to be doing on a Friday, probably, well, not this Friday because it's tomorrow, but in the next week or two, I'm thinking about having a special live feed on Friday, and it'll be kind of like a Q&A, but it's also going to be a chance for me to get some ideas, excuse me, from everyone about what you guys and girls want to see in those Tech Tuesdays, and in Open Studio. I'm going to kind of keep that format the same, and I've got another painting already lined up for that, which will be fun because it's a razor blade painting. So I don't think that's going to change, but the live feeds and Tech Tuesday, I want to make sure I'm giving everyone what they want. Okay, so there's Pete. Looks like he has pajamas on, but we're in good shape. See how clean that is on this side now? So I don't have to clean any of that up, which is great. Another cool thing about this, my favorite part of this painting right now is this little window inside the building. I'll just slide this down a little bit so you can see it. This little window right here. It's just the radiator belts and all that stuff hanging from the top of the window and being able to see the shed through it. It just, everything clicked with that, and I'm super happy with that. It's a minor thing, but I'm really happy with the way that came out. Yeah, so keep in touch here for that Friday feed, so we can sit down, and it won't be any painting done. It'll just be kind of back and forth, but it'll be a good chance for me to get some feedback from everyone. All right, So next thing is going to be, let's do, whoa, that's interesting. See, that was sideways. So if you notice, I had him kind of drawn in here, and this foot is in kind of the wrong spot over here when I sketched it in, which is fine because this little section, the bottom section of this building, of the building right here, is blue. So I'll be able to just paint that and essentially erase that, and I'll get rid of the shadow that's in the wrong spot too. That's not a big deal. So, all right, but I got to get his arm in here, and his other arm, and his face, and then that'll pretty much get him blocked in. And there we go. Back window reminds me of Vermeer painting. Thanks, Tim. I know if Vermeer painted, you know, old gas stations, that'd be quite an honor. Yeah, it's just, I love stuff like that because, you know, my uncle who, you know, just taught me so much. He was always the guy that he would look at my paintings and, or, you know, even the paintings I thought were really good, and he'd always have the one thing about it that could be better. And it was just so valuable to me to be able to take something to him and have him just say, okay, yeah, look at this part right here. And it would always be something I'd never even noticed. One of the things he would always say was, especially with areas like this where there's like just a seemingly dark area, he said people want to look in there. They're going to want to get in there. So even if there isn't anything in what you're painting, like if you're making it up in your mind or you're working from a photograph, even if there's nothing there, put something in there. It doesn't have to be like in your face. Like, I don't know if you guys can pick it out, but I have a little, like a shop sink in there. It's just like the silhouette of a shop sink, and there's the other stuff on the little shelf next to the, you know, underneath the window, and there's, you know, lines, you know, inside. You can't see they're off the page, or off the camera, but just little things that, like, if you really get on that thing, you're going to see it. But if you're way far back, it just looks like it's, you know, dark. So anyway, that was a crazy tangent. All right, what I need to do is I could put the skin tone in over this right here, over his arm, but there's like pencil lines and then also some kind of overspray from the brown. So what I'm going to do there is I'm going to kind of use the knife to kind of clean that up before I spray this next bit, and that way I don't have to fight to try to get this to skin tone color. Now if this doesn't quite line up when I put his skin in, I'll fix the background anyway, but this just gives me a good jump on it. Tim, I was on Bill Snagan's live feed, and he was talking about the Tombow eraser, that little one, and we both agree Tombow needs to make an eraser like that's half the size and twice the hardness, in addition to what they do now. That would be amazing, because then I could actually erase this instead of scratch it. I don't have it here to show you, but Tim introduced me to this Tombow eraser. It's like the only way you can describe it, it's like picture a mechanical pencil, but it's an eraser. So it's really tiny. It's probably only about 1/8 of an inch across, the actual eraser part. And you know, you can advance it as you use it, but it's pretty soft. And like I said, I'd love to have one that's like 1/16 of an inch, or, you know, really tiny. That would be awesome, because you can cut them, you can sharpen them and point them, but it's not quite the same as that thing. So I'm going really light here. I'm just kind of like, I'm not putting any real pressure on this, because essentially all I'm doing is just scratching off the overspray. And again, I don't really know, you know, the final shape of that, but I assume it's going to be different. But in the end, you'll see. I'll be able to just take that. This is actually Chris will like this. This is Blumber here. It's burnt umber and black. So I'll just take it and carve out his arm the way it should be after I get it blocked in. So we'll do the same thing here with his head, because I know there's a little bit of overspray on that too. So that just kind of gets me to the point where I don't have to fight that now. So there we go. I agree, Tombows are great, but they're always so soft. Yeah, and I know that's what they're for, right, Tim? I mean, they're supposed to be like that, but yeah, it'd be so nice if I had one that was like I said, half the size and twice the hardness. So, which is, never mind. I was going to say that is not what she said, because it is not. All right. So next up is the skin tone. So back to Pete here. So I'm going to cut out his arms and his head, and again I'm going to include that little wedge of t-shirt right there as well, because that's an easy one to just like kind of pick up. Actually, I probably don't even have to, because I already got it right there. So, Either way, it's not a big deal. So what I love about this too is that even though this is a bigger painting, you know, it's 16 by 20. Oh no, this is 11 by 14. I still use all the same things that I use on the really tiny paintings, these little cutouts and everything. It's just a neat way to do it. And like I said, with that Edsel that I got to put in, I'll paint that exactly like I paint all the other, you know, I've made a bunch of copies of it and all that fun stuff. So, all right, Pete. Yeah, we were just talking about X-Acto blades and not, you know, getting too much out of them, you know, throwing them away, essentially, not throwing them away, but swapping them out frequently. You can't do stuff like this without a brand new blade. So when I know I'm going to be painting or, you know, cutting out stuff this small, regardless of how much life I think I have left in the blade, I'll just automatically put in a new blade. And then I save them because I use them for all kinds of stuff. Like I use them to frame, like framing, cutting mat and stuff like that. All the old blades are great because I mean, all this part here is brand new. On all of them, it's like crazy sharp. So there we go. It's all in the details. Yes. All right. So his other hand. Pete seems like definitely like a no nonsense, like, you know, garage owning type of guy. Like you could tell Pete put up with no crap. Here we go. So that's his arms. Like I think it's painful for him to even do this much of a smile. And I don't know. Like I said, it's fun doing this stuff because, like I said, I've never met him. I don't know any stories about him or anything. I don't know. He has to be passed away. He looks like he's in his early 50s here, and this photo was taken in the 60s. So I don't know anything about him, but it's funny. My brain ends up just kind of wandering when I'm doing stuff like this. Like, you know, okay, what was Pete like? You know, was he like that? Or here we go. So here's Pete's head. All right. So arms and head, and that's all we need right there. Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to finish this one up and get on to the next one. It'll be nice to get, you know, kind of all that stuff rolling. Ooh, that looks good. It makes me happy when things line up. Like I can see the edge where I kind of scratched away, so I don't think it's going to be that far off at all. So same deal here. I'm just going to use a magnet to kind of hold it in place. This time I don't have to go as crazy with the tape because I'm spraying in a smaller area, just his head and his arms. So I don't have to do that little wall or anything. So I just can drop some tape on it. This is the FBS Gold tape. I use it for everything. And you see how many times I've, you know, taped over this dark brown part, and it doesn't really pull any paint up. Sometimes it does a little bit. But I put that more on user error. Like it'll always pull up a piece of paint where like I touched it. So I left a little bit of oil on the surface before I painted, like the brown, for instance. Then I put a piece of tape on it. When I pull the tape off, it goes right down to the oil and pulls it off. That happened with the windows to the right of this. There was a couple spots where I was putting you'll actually be able to see this on Sunday on the short. Move this a little bit so I can show you because this was fun. Turn it over here a little bit. There we go. So these window mullions right here, make sure that's focused. God, I love this lens. Here we go. So these window mullions, the way I did that was with FBS tape also. So I had 16th inch green tape, this stuff here. This is fine line tape. So the 16th inch tape goes across here. So I just put a piece of tape across, you know, I followed the perspective lines and put the tape in that way. And then for the vertical mullions, I did this point, I think it's 0.3. I don't know, it's 0.3 something. I don't know what it is, but it's super tiny. This is like super thin tape. So that was not only how I did did these uprights, but all these lines here, the grout lines on the building, was done with this tape too. These though, notice how thin these are compared to these uprights. What I did was, after I pulled the tape on this, I actually put the shadow line of the tile on the top edge. That's why these are half the thickness. But anyway, when I was putting all the tape down, I was using my finger to, you know, kind of burnish the tape down, not realizing, or being stupid and putting all kinds of oil all over the area I was about to paint. So I painted it, and then I put some tape on it for something else, and I pulled it up, and a bunch of the windows had these big, you know, blank white spots in them because, you know, don't touch your artwork is what that was. All right. Gary, have a good one, buddy. So let's jump back to Pete. Yeah, I need one more lens between these two. This macro lens is killer, but I can't, obviously it's designed to be up close. I can't get very far away with it, and the other one isn't great up close, and it's a little bit too far away. So I need something right in between, and that's probably going to be the next, you know, the next purchase for this whole setup. All right, one more piece of tape, and Pete's ready to go. There it is. So yeah, so that amount of tape is plenty, because all I'm going to be doing is painting his arms and his face. So if I get paint out here, I got more problems than you know, than that. While I'm cleaning this out, I will see if I can lean over for comments. There we go. I love how deep the blue, the deep blue looks in the darker spots. Yeah, the deep blue, that I started using for the blue for this. I started using phthalo blue. The phthalo blue has a lot of green in it, so I ended up spiking that blue quite a bit with blue violet to kind of cool that off a little bit, and that's working out. It worked out pretty well. I had to make sure I knew what I was doing with it though, because I had to make notes and everything on that color because I used it so much and I'll be needing it again. So I just want to make sure that, you know, I don't keep coming up with different colors. So you can't really see it. What you're seeing, the blue in the lower right hand corner, is the blue for the oil rack, the cans of oil. That's a different blue than the gas pumps, but the gas pumps and the building itself are the same blue. It's just that there's more, the gas pumps are a little bit darker so that they feel like they're more forward. So that makes sense. What else we got? Ooh, I like that, Tim. 2.8 24mm pancake lens. Yeah, that might be the next purchase. Oh, actually, the other thing I need to do is I need to get a much better monitor. For the monitor I have all the camera views on this one monitor that I can just kind of glance over and look at. But it's not a very good monitor, and I need something that really can show whether this thing is in focus or not. So that's the next thing, the next thing. And actually, this is the second monitor. The other one was even worse than this one because I thought I'd cheap out, and that was a mistake. All right, again, airbrush, a little bit of white. This white, my go-to white for this brush, this is the Micron, and most of the smaller brushes that I have. So like, I don't generally use anything bigger than a 0.3. So for 0.3 and below, like smaller, the 1:1 is what I generally use almost all the time. This is 1 part paint to 1 part reducer. So it's way over reduced, but with the white it works well. All right, so a little bit of white, and let's go with, I'm betting Pete is no, Pete's probably not that pale. Let's go with red oxide. We'll give Pete a little bit of a glow here. So if base skin tones are always fun. I mean, there's so many different ways to approach it. Red oxide is nice because it's got a lot of orange in it. So if I'm looking to give someone like a real healthy like glow, like they've been out in the sun, like Pete probably was with the gas station. What did I do on my paintbrushes? There we go. Red oxide is great for that because it's orange. You know, it's got a lot of orange in it. Although for a base skin tone, if I was looking for something more, olive or toned down, Createx is just straight up brown is really good. And then, olive skinned, the burnt umber works well for a base skin tone. I need a little bit more, so I'll do this off the side because it's just easier. So I just add a little bit more to kind of give me that base skin tone. And like I said, this is just a base color. This is just a primer. Yeah, see, so that's a nice light skin tone color. And that'll work well as a kind of a blocking in thing. Okay. What else did I miss? It was a Gray Coast live stream last night on compressors. Yeah, I missed it, Tim. I was running around doing stuff, so I missed it. I may end up sending my Hammerhead to them, my Hammerhead compressor. They don't make this compressor anymore, the Hammerhead, but Coast can repair them. It's a silent compressor, and it's a compressor that my dad had got me. It was my first silent compressor, and I did a bunch of work on it, but it doesn't seem to... I didn't hit everything. There's something electrical wrong with it, so... all right, let's get this rolling. So I'm just kind of... Oop, you can't see it because it's in the way. There we go. Okay. So it's the same thing here. The trap here is everything is blocked off. There's just these little tiny areas. So the trap is to like hose this thing down because I can't see, what's really going on. But I got to, in my mind, I try to keep the same kind of drill down that I don't want the paint to slip underneath, especially because I just based, peat in the blue. If I get a bunch of skin tone on that, it's just something I'm going to have to work back from. So I'm going to hold this side down and just really, really lightly kind of go back and forth over this. And again, the hardest part about this is it's difficult to see the paint going down. To get it's building up really slowly, which is what I want. But in a way, I want that to go down really fast. I want to just paint it in and be done with it. So I gotta kind of I call it painting on faith, where I'm doing the stroke that I know needs to happen. The paint is coming out because I can see it on the copy. So I'm just having faith that that's building up the way it should. Like I said, I can't tell you how many times that I think it's all nice and covered like this with a good stencil, and I hammer it and I go right underneath and it's spider webs. Happens all the time with the small stencils. So that's good. I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to go onto his head. Actually, here's a good one. I don't know. Yeah, you guys can see it because you're super close. Move this a little bit so you can get a little bit better view of it. Right in the middle, and I'll focus this up. Pete. Come on. Here we go. Oh, that's better. Okay. So there's a little bit of a paint line here on this side. So I'm going to scratch that off, essentially erase that out of there so I don't have to cover it. And there's some overspray on his arm, but that's not gonna matter. I'll be able to get that. I went and emptied my compressor tank afterwards. It looked like red oxide crime scene in my kitchen. Oh no! I've been there too. I have a special gallon bottle for that here. There's something about that rusty water that I'm waiting for it to blow the tank open or something, but. Yeah, that's especially in the summertime. That's not fun. All right, so same thing. I'm holding down the left-hand side of his head, and I'm just kind of painting the right-hand side, and I'm painting at an angle like this, so that it holds down that side of the template. Again, I really want to make sure this side, well, both sides in this case are clean, but especially this side because it's the darker, the inside the doorway. The building itself would be easy to fix because it's just white. Now he has white hair. Oh, see, I just hit that way too hard. Did exactly what I was talking about. I just nailed that thing. So I want to make sure that I don't do that. He has white hair, but again, I don't care because I'll just paint that in. Now with this arm, so I can hold the whole thing down with the angle of that bamboo skewer, which is fun. These bamboo meat skewers are the wonder tool of the airbrush world. I use them for everything, for cleaning my airbrushes and holding templates down and scratching my back and poking people I don't like, making dinner. They're great. Okay, that is Pete. So that should be just all the blocking in I need, I think. Be glad Pete doesn't have tattoos on his forearms. That would actually be fun. I wouldn't mind that. Pete does have kind of a military haircut, although that was, he's pretty popular in the early 60s, that crop top type haircut. So Pete definitely has that. All right, so there is a little bit of a misalignment there, but it's not bad. It's actually pretty easy. So that side right there where I scratched out, it looks like it's a little bit off there, which is fine. That's actually an easy fix, which we will get to. Plus down here, I was okay if anything happened down here because there's some sort of bucket right here, so I can mess with that too. All right, now let's get his pants in, and then we'll move on. What I probably should have done was when I had the blue in there. I should back it up a little bit. When I had the blue in the brush, I could have added darker blue to that and then just, did his pants without having to really clean out the brush, but oh well. Da, 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 da. Oh, thanks, Chris. All right, so his pants. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick the overall color. I'm going to cut out his pants again. Actually, I didn't cut them out yet, so I thought I did. Yeah, I'm losing my mind. I'm going to cut out his pants first, and I'm going to pick not the darkest color, even though it's tough to see in this photocopy. I'm going to pick like a medium blue, like what the pants would look like in the sun, basically. And then all the shadow stuff I'll do extra on the side. So that's what we'll do. So we'll cut that out first. What do I want to fix behind him? No, I'm gonna paint him in, and then I'll do all the repairs around him after. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. Something like that. So these paintings, this is both the rewarding part of it when you get into these details, but it's also the tractor pull part of it as well. When you're basing stuff in and I'm doing the underpainting for the whole painting, it's coming together really fast and everything feels really good. And then you get to stuff like this, and while it's interesting and fun to do these really micro details, you end up spending like 3 hours on like a 1-inch area. And so it can be a little disheartening as you're looking at the overall progress of the piece. But it is definitely worth it because, like we were just saying, the angels and devils dwell in the details, and the reality of the piece, how real the piece looks, really comes together in those details, because it's what your brain ends up blending all that together, and that's what makes it look realistic. You can, like, if I left the building just like this, I mean, it looks, you can tell what it is, but it doesn't feel real yet, because there's all the little tiny details that need to be put in, like the extra work on the grout lines and all that fun stuff. So, all right, Pete. So if you flip the copy over, you can see exactly where the, I didn't finish the cuts. Makes it easy to just clean it up. And those are Pete's pants. Now, the other thing I shouldn't be doing is putting the cutting mat on this painting every time. That's really stupid, because it would be super easy for me to scratch something off, which would be sad, and I don't want to do that. So that's just me being lazy. But it's also me wanting to show you guys what's going on. All right, so Pete is like this. Same deal. Magnet to hold it in place and then tape to kind of block it off. I'm taping a look. What do we got? No one tell Marge, but he's pulling another man's pants. It's Pete, though, Chris. It's all right. It's just Pete. Pro at what, though? That's the question. All right. That's good. So I put the tape all the way around the outside edge, just again, because I don't want that blue to go everywhere. It's so funny because like I could spray the blue in here and be careful enough not to get paint out here or on the wall out here. But on the off chance that I pull the airbrush back a little bit, I mean, that's to clean that blue off of the white of the building here is just a drag. It's a total drag. And for the 5 seconds and the 0.00 cents that it costs in tape, it's so worth it just to do that. So don't be lazy like me. Do the right thing. Simon. Oh my goodness. All right. So this is my UK live feed on Thursdays. And I've been watching all those, I'm still watching all those debunking videos, and my 3 favorite debunking, flat earth debunker type of channels, they're all from the UK. So it's so funny. I've picked up so many great insults that, you know, because there are words that you know, like the Welsh use to insult someone. And I can't say them here because when I looked up what the actual insult was, it was like, yeah, it was hilarious, but not repeatable. So I've learned a lot of good stuff. One thing I love that UKers do is, you know, if you have a buddy, you call him your mate. And coming from anyone but in the UK, it doesn't work. It has to be it has to be someone from the UK doing it, which is great. All right, blue. So all right, so this is what I'm gonna do for this. I got skin tone in here. I'm gonna totally be lazy, but I'm just gonna grab a new airbrush. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna grab some blue. Maybe I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna do that. Yeah, this is what I'll do. I'm gonna grab the medium blue, but well, I'll show you. Let me get rid of this first. So I'm going to kind of kill 2 birds with 1 stone with the pants. I'm going to mix up a medium blue. That's going to kind of put the overall color of the pants in, but then I'm going to run that to its opacity to get all the extra shading and stuff done. So I'll show you what I mean in a second. As soon as I get this cleaned out. Let's use a different blue though. So I used sky blue to get that. So I'll use where's my cobalt blue? That's what I really want. Yeah. So I'm going to use cobalt blue. It's a little bit different. It's a little bit more purpley blue. Not purpley blue. I shouldn't even say that. It's it does have that purple, like violet-y feel to it, but it's not anywhere near violet. And so I say that as just as phthalo blue has kind of a green cast to it. You can tell only when it's like reduced and you're spraying it thin, but for the most part it looks blue. Like if I held up, let me find it. So this is Wicked Phthalo Blue. Actually, let me get the jumbo light on it so you can see. So there's Wicked Phthalo Blue, right? In the bottle. So then if I showed you cobalt blue, it looks blue in the bottle. So it isn't until you like really start to reduce this and thin them out that you start to see those secondary colors that make them up. So this one, I need a little bit of blue in there, like that. And I'm going to put some white in here too. Start with a few drops of white. And I am going to reduce this. I'm going to add some of the reducer too. This is UVLS Gloss 4050, 1 part, and then 10 parts reducer. Again, this is my go-to reducer kind of mix for these brushes, for these small brushes. It is very, very thin, but it works well with these brushes. All right, so let me show you this color real quick once I get it mixed up. So there is your medium blue. But now if I did this with phthalo blue, I don't know if you can pick it up on the camera. This has got like a purpley reddish like secondary tone to it. If I did this with the phthalo blue, it would have kind of a tealish greenish secondary color, which is fine. But for this, I really want to separate the blue from peat from the rest of the building, which has that kind of greenish color in it. So many awesome and talented people are here. I'm honored just to be watching. James, that's so cool. Thanks, buddy. Flat Earth stuff has reached a Leahy Live. It's everywhere. Yeah, Trevor, it's so funny. I don't even know how I got into watching them, but they're so funny. All right. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to hit basically the whole area again. I don't have to worry about, holding this down so much this time because I was going for coverage before. I wanted to make, kind of prime that whole area with the blue. And that's the biggest thing. That's why I do that. So that when I go to actually start doing all the, the tones in this, I don't have to worry about like covering anything like the drawing underneath or, making the edges real sharp because it's already done for me here because I laid all that in. So now what I can do is I can take this blue. I'm going to hold it down because I don't want this like really going underneath. But I don't have to be as relentless as I was before. So I'm just going to lightly go over this and just kind of drop that blue color down till it's like a lighter part of like a jean color like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to check the photocopy to see if I can get any info off of that. And I can get the split between his legs. A lot of the other details, though, are blocked off. So I'm going to take advantage of that I can see some stuff in that. The other thing I can do, which I kind of shy away from because I don't want to add too much to it, is, where did it go? Is I can jump back to the original, the big photo I have of him. Hold on. I'm surprised I even put it away. Yeah, here he is. So what I can also do is go back to the original photograph and then I can get a better view of what's really going on there. So I'll kind of use both of those at the same time. So first thing I'll do is just get the separation between his legs. And for this, all I got to do is get myself an indication of it. So I'll cut out this leg right here, and I'll just fold it up like that, and that'll work. That'll get me that line. Little custom leg template. Koi pond's freezing over, but I think the fish will be okay. Yeah, they're pretty hardy. Oh, there we go. So I still have the template on here. I'm not going to take that off because it's exactly the same. So I'm just going to line this one up on top. I don't have to tape it or anything because I've got it already taped underneath. I'm really using this just to get that that shading between his two legs. So now again, I put that blue on there pretty lightly. So now if I build this, the same blue, if I build it up to opacity, it's going to get a lot darker before it, gives out, meaning it just won't get any darker. But it will get darker in the beginning, and that's all I need. You'll see this in a second. So now when I drop this, his leg is in the right spot. Ta-da! All right. And now I can jump back. I guess I will use the big photo so I can really see what's going on here. I'll put this off the side so you guys won't see it, but Move the magnet down here. The magnet's going to hold that side down just so it's not annoying and obnoxious. So now I can do the same thing. I can start working on the shading on this side of his leg. And doing it the same way, just let it build up. And actually it goes up pretty much up the side of his leg with these little kind of spikes that stick out. You know what I can do too, because I'm thinking of it. This is going to be close. Be careful with these magnets. If I get them any closer, they'll snap together, and I don't want to break another one of these. I like these magnets. But that holds the paper down a little bit better. So now this isn't the final shading. This is just kind of the second layer. But I can do a lot with this color. I don't have to worry about overdoing it because there's still another, I'm going to drop this a little bit so you can see it a little bit better. I don't have to worry about overdoing this because it's still really light, so I can really kind of get everything in where it should be and not worry about it. Keeping an eye on the picture. So the very top of this is his belt buckle, or his belt. So I'm just going to kind of darken it a little bit, but it's ultimately going to be black. So good old Pete. So now that, remember with his leg, I just kind of cut it and then folded it up. So now I can finish it because I know where it's supposed to be because I can see the rest of it. And what I like about this, doing it this way, is I've got the real hard edge from the template, but now with all the extra airbrushing that I'm doing on top, it just kind of blends it all together. And then it just looks more natural. So I want to do this stage until I hit opacity. So what's happening is I'm putting more paint on, but it's not getting any darker. That's what I'm shooting for with this before I move on to the next darker color. There we go, Pete. Looking good, bud. With his work pants on. All right. So I've got a lot of paint in here. That's way more paint than I need. So instead of, what I'm going to do is I'm going to darken this a little bit with a little bit more cobalt blue. But instead of just dropping a drop of cobalt blue in there, and it's just a waste of paint because I'll need to, add a bunch of paint to make that dark enough. So I'm going to get rid of some of this. I'm probably going to dump out enough and I'll show you. So there'll just be the reservoir at the bottom that will have paint in it. So I just dumped it out so that I've just got it at the bottom of the cup there. So that's going to be good. And then I'll take a little bit more cobalt blue, but this time I'm going to add a little bit of black to it. So I'll drop out the cobalt blue on the palette. I've already got black out here. So I'll take a little bit of cobalt blue to darken this up. Yeah. And then a little bit of black. That's the black one right there. So obviously I can't just put a drop of blue and black in here. Just that amount of paint would take over what's in here. This is going to be too much black, but it's still going to work. Yeah, all right, that was too much black. It's all right though. And then I'm going to reduce this a little bit more because the farther I go, the more control I need of this. So I get more control out of a really thin paint. The thing is it doesn't cover very well. Now, the good news is I don't need to cover it. I just need to have it, kind of a detail mix. So you can see how much paint is in there now with it reduced and everything. So if I just try to add the blue and the black to that other color, I'd have a half a cup of paint right now, which is a complete waste. So now I've got this kind of really neat steel gray that's going to kind of hopefully finish this off for Pete's pants. What else do I got? Let's see what I got. Ian. Where am I at? Oh, Ron, what's up? How's it going? The cuff at the bottom is left has a fairly clear highlight too. Yeah, there's a lot going on there. So the highlights come in a second. What else we got? Oh, thanks, Ian. You're sweet. All right. So with the highlights, this color, you'll see how dark this is. A lot of the highlights are gonna pop out just because that first color is on there. My goal is to not have to add highlights to this, because I just don't want to. It just saves time. So the idea is to get it done without you have to adding anything. Sometimes you do. I've got the the Dickies work pants in my head as kind of a final goal for this. That heavily woven dark blue work pant type of thing. So that's kind of what I'm going for. So I don't want anything really bright on this. Actually, I should have done that first. So what I got to do is I got a ton of that same color in the front of the brush from here to here. So as I'm trying to add more shading on here, I'm just spraying the same color. So I'm going to put the paper towel on the front of this really carefully and then just bubble that back into the cup. And that pushes all of that lighter blue back into the cup and mixes it all together. Now I can spray out a little bit of that and I should have all that steel gray. You should notice the difference now. Oh, Pete. So I'll start in a spot. Oh, this is a good color. Yay. All right. So I started down to the bottom. So in case something went sideways, I wouldn't have committed to like a major part of this. But now that I know that that's going to work, I'm just going to move on with this. And it needs to be thinner. So, all right. So same thing. I've got a lot of material in this airbrush. If I want to thin this out the way I want it to, I got to double the amount of reducer. I got to put equal amount of reducer as there is paint in there. That's a lot of paint at the end. So I'm actually going to dump some of this out. Same thing. I just need really once I reduce it. So that I did the same thing. I dumped it out so that there's basically just paint at the bottom of that reservoir. Now I can add the reducer back to it and I'm back to the same amount of paint, or same amount of material in the cup, but it's half the viscosity. Again, I need it just really controllable. I don't need it to cover. I just need it to be able to draw really well with it. All right. So again, I pick a spot that's really dark and has a really pronounced shading area so that I can really kind of test that brush out. And if everything's working, then I can go on to the more, delicate, smaller details. So yeah, that's working out pretty well right there. And this is like a really steel gray kind of color, so this is good. This will get me all the shading that I need to get done. And then I can make the final adjustments in the end. I'm going to move this a little bit out so you can see a little bit more of Pete's Pants. I should have named this Pete's Pants edition. So what's nice about that car that's going to go off to the right of the building, it's also blue. So Tony's dad's Edsel was like a baby blue color. So that blue is really going to help to tie everything together. It'll run all the blue across basically the middle of this painting. So that's going to be really nice. It's going to work out well. Because the thing is I'm turning basically a black and white photograph into a color photograph. And the tendency for me is to, make everything bright and full daylight and all that fun stuff. But in reality, it's not quite like that. It's a little bit more subtle than that. So it's nice when I have, the ability to kind of like bump those colors around a little bit. So just moving the magnet over to the edge that I'm kind of painting on. Again, because I don't have to worry about overspray or underspray here, because I'm really just putting on these really small, tight details. I'm not putting a lot of paint on anyway. I could even do this freehand, really, without any stencil, but, it's already here. Ah, it's close. the magnets are already here, and the template's already on there, so just go with that. Okay, for between his legs, same deal here. I've got the line there, so now I just have to darken it up and add the kind of wrinkles from his pants. Just keep checking the reference, see if I can grab some of these wrinkles. Nice. It doesn't want to stay down. Interesting. The Pete's Pants edition. That's exactly what this is. Looks good. Looks real good. Nice. I can live with that. What am I missing? Every time I see paint, I'm reminded that I need to work on getting a light spray as close distance rather than having a dark line. Yeah, that's the whole thing. The closer you get, the slower you have to work, you know, the more you have to let that build up. So, you know, when you watch the t-shirt painters do their amazing lettering, that's really not how it works on this scale. You can't do that. The brush won't work that way. So even the thin lines, you have to build them up really slowly, but really transparently. Okay, that's good. So what I am going to do now is I'm going to pull this mask before I get rid of that color. Because I don't want a crazy super hard edge on this. So the last few passes are going to be without a mask, just to kind of make sure that they're soft. And then it's also going to let me see if I've got any spidering under there, which is usually when it happens on those last really super thin layers, because they are really thin and they just want to spider off, like there. So I'll show you how I fix that. So that little spider web right there coming off looks like his winky. We're going to get rid of that. Now there is also overspray, which I can see. So we'll take care of that now too. There is some on his arm, but I'm not worried about that because that arm, he's got a lot of shading on that arm too. And on this side, I do have to come in with a garage. See that bright white or light blue halo around the back side of him? That's not going to be there eventually too. So to get rid of that overspray, now the overspray is dry paint, which is really nice because you can usually just erase it off. It's not stuck very well. So I start with this is just a 7056 pencil eraser. It's like a pink eraser. So it's fairly soft. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really lightly go back and forth, almost no pressure on this. So I'm not trying to get it off in one shot. I'm just basically just kind of sanding it off lightly. And 9 out of 10 times with overspray like that, it'll come off with an eraser, which is great. Thing is that, you know, and I've been through it, where you see all that, you panic and you grab like something aggressive, and then you end up putting this big scar in there trying to get rid of it. So the way I do it now is just kind of pick the least aggressive eraser to start, and if that works, great, and then make steps up from that all the way to like the super aggressive sandpaper like. This one's a 605B typewriter eraser. So this is really aggressive. But with a really super light touch, you can do the same thing. You know, you don't dig in with it. You just keep going back and forth really lightly, and it'll take everything off. The other good thing too, this building here is white. So I could just block him off and then, you know, respray the white, which is kind of last resort, because then you run the risk of getting the white back onto him, and then it's just this back and forth thing. All right, so let's get on to some of the other details on Pete's pants. I think that's probably good for airbrushing on Pete's pants. So I think I'm going to switch to the paintbrush a little bit and clean up some of those lines. So again, it's remembering what I did to make that color, and it's phthalo blue and a little bit of black. That's way too much black, so it's okay. The reducer is in the palette is the same as the reducer I used to airbrush with, so it's the 4011 reducer. So I'm just going to grab some of this, and I grabbed black again. Are you serious? I need a break. All right, let's try that one more time with less suckage. Here we go. So when I really reduce this out on the palette, you can see down the bottom here how like a steel gray, like cool gray that is. Again, the phthalo blue would have a lot of teal in it, a greenish black, which, you know, is fine, but not what we're looking for this. What else am I missing? Ah, thanks, James. Astral, what's up? From the UK, the Topless Pete edition. It is. Poor Pete's getting all kinds of crap today. Already looking at this, the shirt is too blue. I'm gonna add a lot of. I'll show you what when we get to it. All right, so this is a super over reduced paint in the paintbrush. So now what I can do is I can kind of really transparently kind of go in and sharpen up any folds and any edges that I really want to grab. The outside edges of him are a little bit darker. So it's not quite an outline, but it's a nice way to both sharpen up that outside edge and add that darker edge at the same time. So I kind of kill two birds with one stone there too. And then what I'm probably going to do is, before I move on to the shirt, I'll just fix the back side here so that I can almost kind of call that done. Yeah. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to darken up that what's going to be the back edge. Get that where it should be. Yeah, he's got a little bit of overspray on this arm too, but there's a bunch of shading on that too, so I'm not overly worried. And then the top is, again, top is his belt, so I'm not worried about that either. This is about as watercolor as you will get with acrylic paints. The only way, again, I've mentioned this before, the only way I can get away with this is that I'm putting this really super weak, and literally is both weak in color but also weak in strength and ability to stick. The only way that I'm getting this to work is that I'm painting this onto other paint. I'm essentially just staining the paint that's here. So it doesn't need any, it doesn't need very much ability to stick, because it's actually just kind of soaking into the paint that's already there. So if I were to mask over this, there's a chance that I would get some of these really delicate things to pull up. But for the most part, it soaks right in, stains that lower layer, and then that's it. It's there. So. All right, Pete, I'm leaning back. I think that looks pretty good. So let me fix behind him here. So again, this color back here in the doorway is burnt umber and black, which I have over here still because I used it for the details in there. So I want to start with a kind of a really washed out version of this. And I want to take this slow because I want to creep up on this edge. If I just try to nail it, what's going to happen is I'll get a really dark outline, behind him. And I don't want that. It's then you just end up, playing the game where you're chasing one after another. Like it's too dark, so now I got to lighten it, and then I got to move that around, and it's endless. Again, down the bottom, I'm not worried about it because there's a white bucket here behind him. So I'm just going down to that bucket. I don't have to fix the bucket because when I put the bucket in, it'll fix the bottom of his pants anyway. And in keeping with the British theme on Thursdays, as always, this is my Winsor & Newton Series 7 double-aught sable brush, which is my absolute all-time favorite. Made for the Queen, from what I understand. All right. That's good. So that did get a little bit dark there, but it's okay. It's going to be fine. You can barely see it, so I'm not worried about it. But that is a good start for Pete's pants. All right, so let's do his shirt, and then I don't want to do his skin next, because if I do his shirt and get more overspray on it, I'll have to fix his skin anyway. So we'll do his shirt, and then we'll go from there. All right, so for shirt, so again, his shirt I feel is too dark. Let's move Pete up here a little bit, or your view of Pete. Oh, Pete. Yeah, so his shirt feels a little bit too dark to me. It doesn't feel like that worn out denim work shirt, Dickie type thing. Let's see if we can get this focused a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the folds, the darker areas in Pete's shirt, and then I'm going to use a really light blue or even a white to kind of pull out the highlights, and that'll lighten the shirt, but it'll also give me the highlights too, like down in this bottom section underneath his arm. So what else did I miss? Yeah. Oh, there we go. Yeah, Winsor Newton. Cheaper over there. That's a good question. I don't know. From what I heard, they're made in Winsor Newton in France. I don't know if that's true, but that's what I heard. Even though, of course, Winsor Newton is a British company. But yeah, that'd be interesting. I mean, those brushes for here in the U.S., they're not terribly expensive. They're still under $20. They're getting close to it. And I can get almost a year out of them. So I have zero complaints, especially with the performance. And I've tried other brushes, and it's not that other brushes aren't good. It's just that I demand so much of them, and that particular brush has been my brush for the last 30 years. I mean, it's just, like I said, man, for me, there is no substitute. And a lot of that is, again, I haven't really looked because I haven't had to. So there might be people out there making equal quality brushes as that one, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it, is the way that works. All right, so let me see with this photocopy if I can get any of I can. So the first thing I do is I check the photocopy to see if I can cut any of that out, and I can get a lot of that, so that'll be good. It just saves me from having to, fudge around with it. I could just cut out a few things and get everything in the right spot. Put that there, and Pete here. So now we move from Pete's pants edition to Pete's shirt edition. So what I'm looking for are the darkest folds in his shirt. Now remember, I have that dark color in the brush. I'm just going to use that because, again, this is going to be more of just a drawing guide more than a, put in the right color type of thing. And you'll see what I mean when I get there. I'm just going to really lightly fade that blue over this, just to kind of give me the rundown. So whereas his armpit is right here, I'm going to cut that out, but I'm just going to fold that down. Probably should have used cheaper paper because this is really thick. There we go. So I'm going to fold that down so I could just hit his armpit right there real quick. The collar of his shirt, I'll cut out that because that's really, really in your face. And again, I'm picking landmarks. I'm picking things that once I get those in, I can kind of figure out where the rest of it is. Like his belly is Man, he has his pants hiked so high. So it comes right across the top of his belly. So I'll do the shading on his belly from there. And the same thing underneath his arm. I think that's gonna give me the bulk of it. Just want to make sure I get this top. Yeah, that's not really cut out. Get this top fold. And I can just use the blade upside down to kind of open this up a little bit. And everything else looks good. So again, 4 little cuts, but that's going to lay out his whole shirt for me, which is nice. You'll see what I mean in a second. I'll put that there, put that there. So now, make sure this is really, really well lined up, because if it isn't, that's going to be sad. Here you go. Oh, did I screw up his other? Huh. I feel like I screwed up his other shoulder. Interesting. I have to fix that. All right, same deal. Just grab a magnet. All I need is something to hold this down. I don't have to put tape on this because I'm so local now. I'm really right on it. There's no chance that I'll get any overspray anywhere else. But I will show you something when we're done that is me being stupid, and now I paid for it. So I'll show you that at the end. All right, so again, I'm just going to hit this kind of lightly just to kind of get those 4 pieces in. Now when I go to pull the magnet off this is good because I've done this a million times and it's not good. So let me back this up just a hair so you can see everything. So I've got that big fat magnet on there because this magnet is the only type of magnet that will, the neodymium magnet, the size, is the only one that will go through this ampersand board down to the metal. If I use a small magnet like this, it doesn't really hold on. I mean, it does stick, but it doesn't really hold on very well. It just can't get through the board. So that works that way. So now when I go to take this magnet off, if I just try to like pick it up, if this slips and slides over onto the painting, that's going to damage the painting. So what I've learned to do over the years of doing this and screwing it up is I always pull the magnet down onto the template so that it's completely surrounded by paper, and then I lift it up. So I never just try to lift it up on the edge, because 9 out of 10 times it'll slide over onto the painting and that metal will scratch the painting off. So there is your, your tip for the week right there. 16 pounds, 19, 20 bucks. Yeah, so there you go, Simon. So it's the same amount. Yeah, it's probably, the thing is a place like Dick Blick here in the US just gets so many of them in. I think that negates the import difference. You know what I mean? And that's true with most supplies across the board. If they can order a bunch of them, like when I got the this Redgrass palette over here, I paid list price for it because I got it from Germany and it was a one-off. I didn't realize you could get them here in the US too. So if you were to buy a Winsor & Newton brush from the UK, not that you would want to because it's the same brush as what you get here, but you'd pay all the shipping and customs and all that fun garbage. So yeah, the brush would be like, 80 bucks. All right, so there is some, there's a couple things going on here. So basically I got it in the right spot. The collar's in the right spot. It did bleed out a little bit, but I'm okay with that. Oh, do I try to push this brush? This brush I still haven't ordered the parts for this. I need to get off my ass. And so what happened was with my Micron B, the nozzle, somehow, I don't know how, is slightly out of round now. So it actually lets paint slip through when it's not, it's in this resting position. But it also doesn't spray around, just a round, nice pattern. And this isn't the super hyper detail brush, so you really notice it. So what I need to do, I need to get a new nozzle for it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to push it. I'm going to try to use it anyway. All right, that's not what I want at all. There we go. So I'm going to grab a little bit of white. Now that I've got this laid out, like those few darker areas, now I'll be able to kind of hit the lighter, lighter areas on his shirt, because I know where they go now because I've got that. But what I do need is, where's the picture of Pete? How did I lose that? Oh, because I threw it over there where it doesn't belong. All right. So I've got a picture of Pete down here below. So what I should have done was have an inset of Pete so that you guys could see what I'm doing. All right, let's see what this is going to do. Yeah, I can tell it's kind of wonky, but it'll work for this. So what I'm going to do with this, and again, this is work without a net, so it's okay though. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pick the areas that are lighter, like the tops of his shoulders. And the front of his shirt is lighter. So this does two things. One, it'll reintroduce the highlights into his shirt a little bit, but overall it will also lighten up that blue color because I felt the blue was a little bit too blue. So just by adding a lot of these highlights or lighter areas in the shirt, I'm making the shirt lighter, but I'm also, again, adding those highlights. I'm not going to do his belly because I got to do the shading on that. So I'm just going to kind of avoid that for now. Just kind of do a few little areas of it. This would be a really good time if there was an area where this oversprayed onto the building. I've got white in the brush right here. So for instance, if I had overspray, well, I'm going to do that. If I had overspray on the building, I could just clean that up now, but there really isn't any. So I'm good there. All right, so Pete's shirt. Get the top of his belly a little bit more. The other thing I can do too is, I'll do it with a paintbrush. Grab a little bit more white out here. Am I missing anything? You guys still good? Man, 2 for Thursday, Tech Tuesday, paintbrush lesson. Oh, awesome, Chris. Yeah, it's funny. I accidentally, for those who were looking for Open Studio yesterday, I didn't even realize I filmed 2 episodes of Open Studio last week, and I put the other one to schedule for release yesterday, but I screwed up and put the date for today. So at the end of the day, I'm going through everything. I'm like, wow, no one's looked at that video yet. And then I realized it wasn't even up yet. It was scheduled for today. So I swapped it. So that went live last night instead of at 10 like it usually does in the morning. So so if you're looking for that, it's up now. We are on, I think, episode 28 right now on that painting. I'm loving working on that thing. So much fun. All right, so now I have the white. We'll get you back. Yeah, we'll get you back in on Pete. We'll get you close in on Pete. Since it is the Pete's shirt edition now. Get you right there. Oh, maybe it's... Oh, that's stupid close. All right. That's close. You guys are like... I mean, that's my index finger. So you guys are really close. All right, so I've got the white and the paintbrush now. So what I can do now is I can just start to pull out those really tighter highlights that are on like his shirt cuff, like that. And some of the other highlights that are on the front of him here. So this, you can see it now closer because you're really close. See that spider webbing that went on around that? These 4 bits that I sprayed in should have been way lighter. But I hit it kind of hard. So so what I can do now is with the white, I can clean that up too. So again, I'm not overly worried about it. Because I knew I was going to be lightening this or making this whole thing a lot lighter. So we'll get some of the details in, a little fur ball on that. And this side of him too. Oh, his hand comes around. Okay, I get it. Confused there about this, pot belly here, but it isn't. His hand is actually coming around his pants. That's what it is. So I'm kind of preemptively putting in these highlights here. So I'll end up putting the darker colors in as I go. But again, this will just lighten up his shirt for me. I think I have this left shoulder wrong over here. So the way I'm going to fix that is grab a little bit of the blue, a little bit of the white to make up that light blue color. Fortunately, well, it doesn't really matter. It's this shoulder over this side is too small. I noticed that when I was lining it up. So we can fix it now. I just need a cutout, any cutout. Line that up. Yeah, it is. Okay. So there's the outline of him, right? Well, there we go. So there's the outline, and for some reason I cut it short. So I'm gonna just kind of give him his shoulder back. There we go. Wonderful. All right, so now nope, not that one. So now I'm going to jump back to that the dark blue that I had before. I'm going to do the same thing. So I'm going to dump all that out except for the very bottom of the cup, and hopefully you can see that. I know it's really close. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to add the reducer back in. So now I want that same color, but I want it really crazy, crazy thin, because I need to have a bunch of control over this, because I'm going to be doing all the shading on his shirt now with this color. There we go. Again, pick a spot that I know I can get away with, like on his pants, see if it's coming out the right way. And then once I know that it's spraying okay, then I can start moving on to his shirt. So first thing is that his kind of belly shading that's on there. Oh, Pete. That's good. So now the armpit here, that is kind of an abrupt cutoff. See how that's like a triangle right there? That's going to be a hard thing to recover from. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the eraser, the aggressive one. I'm going to sharpen this up real quick so I get a good point on it. And I'm going to kind of just like carve away the bottom of that highlight, or that shadow right here. So I'm just going to kind of go over it a few times to kind of break that up a little bit. Because really I just needed to know where it was. I didn't need it to be that dark. And again, these are light. I'm just kind of like touching it and then moving it across. I'm not really bearing down. If I bear down and I'm even starting to burn through, I'll just end up burning through, all the blue. So again, there's an element of staining going on there too. So even though I was able to get most of it off, I can't get all of it off, because it did that dark blue went right through and stained the paint underneath it. So the only way to get that off is to repaint it if I really wanted to remove it. So, but that's fine. That's just where I need it. Guys, it's so close. All right. So now I can go back to the airbrush and I can put that shadow in where it should be, really. Just start in the corner of his arm there and just kind of move that out. And again, the beauty of this is just working those really light layers, I'm not trying to hit it in one shot because it's so tiny right there. It's not, I don't need to, it's okay to build it up. These other folds are the same way. And actually right underneath his arm too. Could probably get this with the paintbrush first, but since I got the airbrush and we're in the vicinity, we'll just start it with the airbrush. Okay, and then the front of this arm has a bunch of shadow. Not shadow, but another thing that's going to happen a lot, you can start to see it happening right there. It kind of starts spitting. What I'm doing right now, the airbrush doesn't like at all. Meaning I have a ton of air and a teeny weeny little amount of paint. So you get a lot more. Now I'm Italian. I am Italian, but you get a lot more tip dry. when you're working like this where you got a ton of air and just a tiny little bit of paint. So it takes a lot more maintenance on the brush while you're doing this kind of stuff, but it's totally worth it. So we'll get the little shading on his arm there, fix that other one. And the collar of his shirt. This is the job that would normally have been the Micron B. So I would have been doing this with the Micron B. This is what I got it for, this kind of stuff. But the C will do it, but it tends to be a little bit more, I don't know. It likes a little bit thicker paint. I mean, comparatively, they're both super detail brushes, but the B really works super well with this really tiny stuff. It's what it does well. All right, so his belly wrinkles, whatever that didn't sound right. The wrinkles on his shirt around his belly. How about that? I'm hyper focused on this, so I haven't been looking at comments, but I will get back to that in a second. What I need is some kind of virtual like glasses that the comments will just like run across in front like Tony Stark, like Iron Man. That would be great. What did I do there? I don't like that. Here we go, Pete. You're looking good, bud. All right, so I think that's good. Let me back you guys up a little bit. So now what I can do is I can make an adjustment over the whole, like all the blue area. So we'll back you guys out a little bit. So you get the full-on Pete. There we go. The full-on Pete. There we go. Nice. So subtle. So you see how I was able to blend in the lighter areas, even though the lighter areas looked pretty stark in the beginning. So now they kind of blend together. So the one thing is like his pants are a little bit too blue. Yeah, that I gotta do some stuff to this. Okay, so his pants are too blue overall, which is fine. This is good because I got that steel gray in there. Just gotta find the. So I just grab one of the copies, any of the copies that this is like the whole thing, but I just need his pants. I need to block like off his pants, or need to do it so that I can see his pants. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this gray now, this darker color that I have in here, and I'm just going to tone down his pants. So his pants look like they're brand new, like they're jeans, which is the color I was going for, but I don't want it. I want to look, I want it to be darker. So I can take this color now really lightly and kind of just go over the whole, like the whole pants. I want to go super slow. I want to creep up on this. I just don't want to hose it down and lose everything I just did. So I go just enough to kind of make an impact on it, and then I run it down the whole length and then sit back and take a look at it. I feel like it needs something else. So here's what we're going to do with this. It's good, but I think it needs something else. So, all right, I know what to do. Dump that out. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of black. I was thinking green, but because I need to kind of separate the two a little bit. They seem way too close in blue, even though one's lighter and one's darker. So the way I'm going to do that, I was thinking green because green will work really well, but the black will kind of do the same thing because it has a lot of brown in it. And again, I know this sounds scary, but I'm just going to really, really lightly put this on here. It's just going to be a super faint amount, just enough to kind of shift it around. So I took black and I've got it super reduced in the cup right here. Okay. Hang in there, Pete. We're getting there. Here it is. I'm not even worried about the shirt up above because I'm not really getting close to that. I come in, pretty close, but I'm not right on that edge, so I don't have to worry about masking it off or anything. Yeah, that's what I wanted. So it is. It's kind of tilting it towards this green color. Not green like green, but it's got a little bit of it in there. So that just kind of makes it look like a different blue than above. Plus it's also darkening it a little bit, which is also good. His pants are pretty dark here in the photo. Since I got it in here, I'll just add a little bit more definition to those the shadow on him, or shading. I think that's good. Now I can always, I save all these cutouts. So these cutouts go in a manila folder. So in case later on, I look at that and say, yeah, you know what, he needs something different. I have all the cutouts. So it makes it really nice. I don't have to keep going with it and, recut it or whatever. That looks good. I like that. All right, I'm going to show you where I screwed up. So when I was showing you how to backflush the airbrush, I made a cardinal sin, so to speak, with airbrushing. So I was really close, and that UFO now in the sky right there is a little droplet of paint that came out of the airbrush and ended up on the painting. Oops, as it dropped the camera. So I'm gonna have to fix that at some point. That sucks. It's right in the middle of the sky too. There's another one actually in the building too. 2 of them came out. There's another one. That one's an easier fix though. Oh well. So when you do that backflushing thing, don't do it near your painting. That's not cool. All right, what time is it? It's 2:51. Yeah, I think what I'll do, since we've been going for a little bit, I think we're gonna kind of hold it there. Let me switch to the overhead for a second so you can get a full view, but then I'm gonna switch the lens and the camera so you can kind of see the whole thing, the whole Pete. I didn't get to finish Pete's face and everything, but it honestly the method to do his face is exactly the same thing as his shirt and his pants. I start off with the darker color for his features. Essentially, it's just his eyes, his brow, and then I just add in the rest of the the tones as we go. So while you're doing that, I'm going to move this back here so we get a full view of the whole thing, and then I'll switch the camera so you can see it. All right, is that good? No, that's good. This one. Yeah, I'll move this. So yeah, so there you go. So there's Pete hanging out. So it has a different kind of vibe when you kind of bring it into everything else, but you see how like that, this gives you more of that feel for what I was talking about. There's going to be a pale blue Edsel right here, then the blue of the Sunoco, then the blue of the blue and the yellow really of the pumps to the oil tank, and then the other or the oil rack, and then the other pump. This puts Pete right in there now. So even though he's subtle and he's in the background, he shares the same blue as everything else. So that'll keep your eye kind of in line with everything that's going on. The other way to do it too, if like the Coke machine wasn't here, to put Pete in something that would really make him pop. But I don't know, I just didn't feel like, I don't want him to be like obvious that we want to see him. It is obvious in the end, but I don't want it like stupid, like, like, oh, there's Pete. I just want to be like looking around and then, oh, there's Pete. That kind of thing. So, it's Thursday. I don't know, what can I say? So that's what we got. All right, let me switch you guys around and I'll turn this and do that. And we get everything in the way. Move this and these and those. That on the way. So that's what we got. That's what we got. Welcome to everyone who is new, who hung out today. Thank you for hanging out. We do this every Thursday. For all my regulars or my irregulars, thank you all for hanging out again. Yeah, we do it every Thursday, so it's become an institution now. So I'm happy, and that's what I got. So again, keep an eye on the YouTube channel. I'll put it in the community page when I'm going to do that feed on Friday. On the Friday, and I'd love it if a bunch of people are there so they can get some good feedback on on where we're going to go with the Tech Tuesdays and things like that. I'd love to hear your feedback on that. So that's what I got. All right. So for Steve Leahy and Thursday Live, I think we are going to switch it to Over the Pond, the Over the Pond episode. So we'll see what happens. All right. Have a great weekend. Love you guys. And I will catch you all on the next one. Thanks a lot.